Hello, 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 hello everyone, hello everyone, hello, hello, hello. We got some stuff here to review. I'll be back in a little on camera in a little bit, but um, if you looked at the crash, I already did one live stream about it, and this is me doing the second part. With that being said, let's go get it. Let's go.
The crime we're investigating is an aggravated vehicular homicide. I was just kind of shocked. I didn't really know how to process it all.
Part 22.
It truly was a horrific crash site.
There's an occupant inside. We gotta bust the window out.
I just felt like there was more to the story than just an accidental crash.
Hey True Crime Besties, welcome back to an all-new episode of Seriously. Hello, 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 and welcome back to an all-new episode of Seriously with me, your host and your true crime BFF, Annie Elise. Now, if you are brand new listening to this podcast or watching this YouTube channel for the very first time, let me just give you a breakdown. My name is Annie, and what I like to do on here is not only deliver and present a true crime case to you, but do it in a way where it is the full deep dive, going down the rabbit hole so that you don't have to. All the details, the social media activity, past relationships, everything that you find yourself Googling yourself when you're watching a documentary. I find all that information out and then I present all of it to you. But my goal in doing that is to do it in more of a conversational way, as if your friend or best friend was telling you about this case that they just heard about and that they can't stop researching or thinking about or talking about. So, again, if you're brand new, that's what we do over here. If you enjoy it, subscribe and follow the podcast. And, that's how it goes. Every single Monday, a brand new case. And then every Thursday, I do an episode called Headline Highlights, where I talk about everything happening in real time that week in the true crime world. Now, today, we are doing one of the infamous deep dives. And you may have heard about this case if you listen to true crime or follow true crime. You may have also seen clips of the trial or footage from the case in your TikTok feed or your Instagram Reels feed, because it's the case of Mackenzie Shirilla, a name that a lot of people do know, but many don't. You also might be familiar with the name because Netflix just released a documentary about this case called The Crash. And what's really interesting is there's a lot of division with this case. Many people believe that what happened was intentional, that this is, the product and result of a spoiled young girl who had everything in her life, and then the moment something went wrong, she decided to take it out on everybody else. While some say, no, this was absolutely accidental. She was too young to know how severe this was going to be and what her actions would truly cause. And there's a little bit of conflicting opinion out there. Now, I will say this personally. I first covered Mackenzie's case years ago, and with that, I have done extensive research. I've interviewed a lot of people close to the case. I participated in a documentary back then where I was shown a lot of privileged information before it even went to trial, different things like that, to where my belief is that this was absolutely intentional. But again, not everybody agrees with that. And that's certainly okay, which that's my point in why I'm coming on here today. I want to present the case to you with a set of fresh eyes, new perspectives, everything we've learned, things that have come out post-trial, so that then you can really decide for yourselves, what do you believe? Do you believe that this is all just a horrific, tragic accident? Or do you believe that this was calculated and intentional? So let's start here. I want you for just a moment to imagine being a teenager again. And I say again because I feel like a lot of you are teens. I feel like we skew a little older over here. But if you are a teen, you're involved too. But I want you to imagine being a teenager and you're just graduating high school. It's that super exciting time in your life where you're young, you're full of life, you have dreams, ambitions, there's parties, there's excitement, and you just can't wait for what's to come. But then you get word that 3 other teenagers who live in your area, potentially even are classmates of yours, were in a deadly car crash. And even more than that, one of the worst car crashes that first responders had ever seen in the Ohio area. It rattled the entire community. There was shock, grief, confusion,
Right.
but above all else, there were a lot of rumors. Rumors that took what seemed to be a very simple yet tragic car accident into something potentially far worse. So let's jump right in. In the early morning of July 31st, 2022, the peaceful suburb of Strongsville, Ohio, nestled just outside of Cleveland, became the scene of a heart-wrenching tragedy that rocked its tight-knit community forever. Initial reports began to surface about a devastating car accident involving 3 people: 19-year-old Davion Flanagan, 20-year-old Dominic Russo, and 17-year-old Mackenzie Shrilla. Both Davion and Mackenzie had just graduated from Strongsville High School just a few months earlier. Early on in the investigation, law enforcement believed that Mackenzie Shrilla somehow lost control of the Toyota Camry that she was driving, and then crashed into a brick building on Alameda Drive at 5:34. It wasn't until approximately 45 minutes later at 6:15 a.m. that a passerby, a runner who was out for their morning jog, came upon the wreckage and immediately dialed 911. When law enforcement arrived, they found all 3 passengers unconscious, unresponsive, and trapped within what was now just a brutally mangled car frame. The first responders from Strongsville Fire Department worked quickly to help get Dominic, Davion, and Mackenzie out of the car. Unfortunately, though, both Dominic and Davion were declared dead at the scene. Mackenzie, who was driving the car, was critically injured and flown to Metro Health Medical Center. Investigators waited for the results of her blood testing, which would show if drugs or alcohol played a role in this crash. The victims' families and the community were completely grief-stricken and, frankly, just sick about this. Dominic and Davion now had their potential dreams and futures abruptly cut short. Dominic had started a successful business and always talked about all of his big plans for the future. And Davion was a fantastic football player, well known in the community, and had plans to open up his own barber shop after high school. But now, all of that was gone in an instant. The community's sadness and loss eventually led to many questions. Why was this a one-car accident? If Mackenzie lost control of the car, how did that happen? What was going on inside the car leading up to this? Was Mackenzie intoxicated or under the influence of some type of drug? Why were all 3 of them even over on Alameda Street in that part of town in the early morning hours to begin with? It's not near where Mackenzie, Dominic, or Davion lived, so where were they going? And how could this possibly happen? Mackenzie underwent extensive medical treatment for her injuries and somehow survived miraculously. However, she said that she couldn't remember what happened leading up to the crash. She said that she had blacked out. Now, just for a moment, I am going to draw on my personal experience for a second. A lot of you know who have been with me for a while on here that you know that I was in a horrific car accident when I was 16 years old. I wasn't wearing my seatbelt. I hit the windshield, knocked out some teeth, ended up having brain surgery from how awful this car accident was. And I can say, even now, I still do not remember anything from that accident. And I wasn't the one driving, but I was in the accident, and I'm still blacked out. I remember leaving the house that morning. I don't remember the accident. I don't remember the moments coming out of the accident. The first memory I have is when first responders were already there on scene and they were cutting me out of my clothing and getting me out of the car. But I don't remember anything else. So there has been a lot of speculation if Mackenzie was in fact blacked out during the accident or not, or even has a recollection of the memories leading up to the accident itself, and if that's true or not. And while I don't know in her situation if she's lying or if it were true, and we'll talk more about that as we go on, but I do want to mention that it is entirely possible to black out even the events leading up to the collision itself, because for me, that is exactly what happened. So while law enforcement began going further into their investigation, many people in the community began to talk. And the community had strong yet mixed feelings about what they thought happened here. Some people thought that this was just a tragic accident, but others who knew Mackenzie and Dominic and knew them more closely began to believe that this wasn't an accident at all, and instead, it was something far more sinister.
Hey, hop in, pal. I run on 3 things: coffee, chaos, and sicko. Hey, use your blinker! There she is. Speaking about...
This wasn't an accident at all, and instead, it was something far more sinister. Mackenzie and Dominic began dating in 2021, and they had an overall tumultuous relationship. They would break up, get back together, and then they would do it all over again. The pattern just was on a repeat. And I know that that can be sort of a vague statement, saying that a relationship, is tumultuous, but we're going to get into their relationship more in just a little bit here, so stick with me, because a lot of information has come out since I first covered this case. Davion was one of Dominic's close friends. According to news reports, Davion, Dominic, and Mackenzie were hanging out at a party and smoking a little bit of weed the night leading up to the crash, and Mackenzie and Dominic offered to give Davion a ride home. Mackenzie was described by people who knew her in high school as selfish and entitled, and she never had to really take any accountability for her actions. She always just kind of got away with everything. After Mackenzie began to recover from the accident, many of the posts on her Instagram and TikTok really upset people as well, and we will get into specifically what she posted here shortly, don't worry. Most of her social media has now been deleted, so I couldn't find much except for a few screenshots here and there. However, people in the community who knew her from school commented on social media about Mackenzie's behavior, and all of those comments are still public. Some of the posts said that her parents knew about her drug use, and that her mom would like some of the pictures that she posted when she was smoking weed. And some pictures sparked outrage because people thought that she just was moving on with her life, as if nothing ever happened, with no remorse at all. There were also some pictures Mackenzie posted with her and her friend dressed as a weed for Halloween, which also caused a huge stir online. Several classmates weren't surprised that this horrific tragedy resulted from Mackenzie's actions, even going as far as to say that she probably would have killed someone one day anyway, and that she only cared about herself and herself only. Other people felt like Mackenzie had definitely done drugs, and that is what caused the crash. And the police seemed like they weren't doing anything about it. And now this was another situation where Mackenzie would just get away with her selfish and dangerous behavior once again. Well, all of that online speculation and discussion over what happened that tragic night wouldn't matter for much longer, because a few days after Halloween, everything changed. It turned out that the police were not letting Mackenzie get away with anything, and they had been conducting a thorough investigation this entire time. On November 4th, 2022, Mackenzie was arrested. According to court documents, Mackenzie faced a total of 18 charges. Counts 1 and 2, aggravated murder. Counts 3, 4, 5, and 6, murder. Counts 7, 8, 9, and 10, felonious assault. Counts 11 and 12, aggravated vehicular homicide. And all of these charges were related to that crash on July 31st, 2022. Count 13, trafficking. Count 14, drug possession, and both of these charges were for the magic mushrooms that were found inside the car. Count 15, possessing criminal tools, and this was for a digital scale that was found in the car. So there were 15 charges in total related to the car crash and to the deaths of Dominic and Davion. The other 3 charges were for allegedly breaking into the Columbia Church of God in Columbia Station on July 19th, 2022. Those charges were count 16, breaking and entering, count 17, vandalism, count 18, desecration. Mackenzie's blood test from the hospital revealed that she had THC in her system and that she was likely high at the time of the accident after their investigation and talking to witnesses who saw her that night. Even though mushrooms were found in her car, this was apparently not in her test result.
Okay.
Mackenzie's bail was set at $500,000, but she didn't get bailed out of jail and remained in juvenile custody until it was time for trial. The body cam footage of Mackenzie's arrest was finally released in 2025, and I have to be real with you. It's an absolute doozy, and I don't use that word lightly. I personally hate that word, and I don't want to give too much away before I show you guys some of the clips, which for those of you who are listening to the audio version of this, you'll be able to hear what's happening, but I do encourage you, pop over to YouTube, watch the visual as well, because I think that will provide more context. But what I have to say is that Mackenzie shows absolutely zero remorse. Zero remorse for any of the crimes that she was being charged with.
Hi, Mackenzie. Step out for me. I'm Detective Jesus. I'm the one who's been investigating the crash. You're under arrest for aggravated murder ×2. Okay? Nobody's gonna ask you any questions. Nobody's gonna bother you. Can I have your key, please?
Could you please be careful taking this one
You got
off
it.
so it doesn't break the bracelet?
You got it. You got it. Okay, Mackenzie.
Don't you worry about the damn bracelet.
I can't wear any of it.
No, I need you to take it off while you're in jail right now.
I can't wear this.
Now, unfortunately, everything's gonna have to come off right now once we know when the detective comes back and we know for sure what's going on. Everything's gonna be bagged up here. It's not going anywhere.
Sorry, this is like one of those. It's really hard to get off.
It's fine. Take your time.
Her first response to being told that she was being charged with murder was to take care of a bracelet. Take care of a bracelet so that it didn't break. And then, after being told that she could not wear any jewelry in jail, which obviously should be common sense, right? She started to break down. That's what rattled her. That's what made her upset, because she couldn't wear jewelry into the jailhouse. I mean, again, it just kind of goes back, for me at least, into this spoiled, entitled young girl thinking that the world revolves around her. But anyway, back to her arrest. You guys know I'm always skeptical of anything that just like overly promises energy, focus, cravings control. I
Okay,
mean, all
let's
of
get
it,
through
because
this.
it either usually had been clocked at 100 miles per hour. Black boxes aren't the official term. It's an EDR or event data recorder, but these devices record driving and vehicle data from immediately before, during, and after an automobile crash. And that wasn't all. They also had cold, hard evidence to prove this. Because when the accident occurred, a nearby building security camera caught the entire thing on video. In the video, you can see Mackenzie's car going extremely fast before disappearing off the screen and ultimately crashing. The prosecution also said that this didn't just happen based on reckless driving either, and they would present a witness who overheard Mackenzie's threats.
That he observed at that time the defendant striking Dominic Russo with both hands, and that he overheard her make a statement, an admissible statement, and she said, "Dominic, I'm going to crash this car." We find that it is especially and important to her state of mind just 2 weeks later when she used the car to kill Dominic Russo.
Despite this, Mackenzie's lawyer, Mr. McDonald, of course, had a much different perspective. He argued against the insinuation of intent. Instead, he said that this was a tragic accident rather than a premeditated act.
How can you come to any conclusion other than, if anything, she's reckless? Is it just kids being kids? Is it Dominic grabbing the steering wheel? Is it Mackenzie maybe speeding and saying, "Oh my God, park out, it's late, I'm coming up to this, I better do something," and she goes like that to avoid an accident, not acting purposely, but in fact trying to avoid it? Is it sudden acceleration, panic? Those are all possibilities.
Mr. McDonald also said that the side airbags going off in the final seconds before the crash could have contributed to the severity of the event. He said, and I quote, "It occurred in about 4.5 to 5 seconds before. It's a significant force that makes a huge sound. There's talcum powder or some type of powder that is let go. So if they only have 5 seconds of recordings, and those 5 seconds are all what happens after the airbag is deployed,
Okay.
how can you come to any conclusion other than, if anything, she's reckless?" During the course of the 4-day trial, many first responders and other witnesses were called to the stand. It turns out that there was more to the crash than just that video of Mackenzie flying by at 100 miles per hour.
Okay.
There was another building that captured footage of Mackenzie turning on the street before pressing on the gas. In this video, you can see Mackenzie driving at a completely normal speed, braking as she prepared to turn as well. Her blinker was on and was signaled to the correct direction that she was going. This video was key to the prosecution's argument that this was intentional and wasn't some wild situation where she was driving completely out of control the entire time. Even worse, experts spoke about the EDR box in Mackenzie's car and said that through their investigation, they were able to determine that Mackenzie had the gas pedal pushed all the way down and made no attempt to ever even use the brakes. The crash team analyst also said about 1 second before the crash, the steering wheel made a hard right turn of 142.5 degrees. It also showed the impact from a sign in the grass outside of the building, which may have triggered the airbags before slamming into the brick wall. Mackenzie's attorney questioned the analyst about the wheel moving in an attempt to insinuate that it's possible that one of the victims moved the wheel by saying that it's basically impossible to know who pulled that wheel and caused the crash. He also suggested that because it was dark, maybe it was hard for Mackenzie to see. But even in his defense, he conceded that Mackenzie's handling of the car was in fact reckless. When the prosecution reviewed the crash scene photos and the photos of the victims during their autopsies, everyone in the courtroom was extremely emotional, including Mackenzie. Dominic's mother, Christine Russo, testified. The courtroom vibe changed instantly when she began her testimony. Everyone could tell that she had once cared deeply for Mackenzie. After all, Mackenzie had even lived with them for a while. But the love story that she painted between Mackenzie and her son, Dominic, was far from rosy. It seemed like they were always at odds, with threats and arguments overshadowing the good times. She also brought up a text message that Mackenzie sent her after the crash, where Mackenzie said, "I remember turning onto the street and then my vision fades to black. It really kills me not being able to remember anything. I promise you I would tell you. I've been asking my therapist why I don't remember, and she said it's because of trauma, but I'm going to try to get hypnotized and make myself remember." Then Dominic's older brother, Angelo Russo, took his turn. The raw emotion in his voice said it all. He talked about how Mackenzie and his brother were constantly on and off again, saying, "I witnessed a lot of negative behavior from her to my brother, and that just kind of pushed me away as a big brother figure because she just wasn't fair to him." One of Dominic's friends, Christopher Hench Martin, was also called to the stand to testify. This was to testify about an incident between Mackenzie and Dominic in a heated fight where she threatened him. According to court documents, on July 17, 2022, approximately 2 weeks before the deadly crash, Mackenzie was driving her vehicle on Interstate 71 with victim Dominic Russo as the passenger when she threatened to immediately crash the vehicle. Mackenzie was upset over a disagreement between the two of them, which resulted in Dominic seeking the help of his mother, Christine Russo, through a phone call asking her to come and pick him up. Dominic's friend, Christopher Hench Martin, went to pick up Dominic and remained on the phone with Dominic during the incident. While on the phone, he heard Mackenzie state, "I will crash this car right now." Mackenzie exited the highway onto Route 82 between Pearl Road and Bagley Road. As the friend pulled up to get Dominic and Mackenzie's car pulled over to the side of the road, the passenger door opened and the friend observed Mackenzie striking Dominic with both of her hands. Dominic then exited the vehicle and left with his friend. The prosecution also brought up another incident in July of 2022 between Mackenzie and Dominic. According to court documents, in July of 2022, within the same month as the deadly crash, Mackenzie again made multiple threats toward Dominic. Videos recovered from Dominic's cell phone revealed the altercation involving Mackenzie, where she can be heard repeatedly degrading Dominic, threatening him, and damaging his property. It is understood from the videos that Dominic was not comfortable letting Mackenzie inside of his home at the time, and he made multiple attempts to reason with Mackenzie, to calm the defendant down and communicate with the defendant in a better manner. Mackenzie refused these attempts and can be heard banging on Dominic's house door, demanding to be let inside. Mackenzie called Dominic a multitude of degrading and highly inappropriate names. Despite Dominic's efforts trying to reason with Mackenzie, she refused to listen and continued her erratic behavior. Exceedingly important are the threats made by Mackenzie to Dominic throughout the incident. She threatened to key Dominic's car if he would not let her in, and she verbally counted down multiple times in an attempt to force Dominic to let her in. She repeatedly told Dominic that this was his last chance to let her in, and she stated, and I quote, "You're gonna come open this door right now, or there's gonna be a serious fucking problem." She threatened to break the handle off the door and can be heard hitting and damaging the door as well. Mackenzie stated, and I quote, "Dom, I'm going to give you one last second or else I'm keying your car." Dominic then had to call his mom for help and stopped recording. Now that phone call that I just described has actually been made public. The original call was about 9 minutes long, but honestly, it doesn't really take the full 9 minutes to see that Mackenzie was threatening him. She was antagonizing him.
But I forgot. You can never keep your word because you are a little weak bitch.
You broke up with me earlier. You really broke up with me earlier.
This is your last chance to open the door. Well, you are not coming out of this house all night because I will not leave.
You literally broke up with me earlier, but like, what is the point of trying to, like, you broke up with me earlier. Like, what?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
You said we're not together. You really said that shit. Like, you really broke up with me earlier. Like, what are you trying to make? Like, why did I just let you in my shit if you break up with me? You're threatening to break my shit. Like, you're threatening to key my car, threatening to break the door. It's like,
Don't let me in the house.
you're going to key my car if I don't let you in.
Don't let me in the house, yeah. Dom, if you do not open, like, you think I'm joking. Like, I'm dead ass.
This chick never loved this dude. Only thing this chick wanted was control over this dude. Only thing she wanted was control.
What are you dead ass about?
Okay, I'm gonna give you one last chance to open the door.
We built this city. Three country layers that are so comfy.
Keep it quilted with Quilted Northern.
The Death of Robin Hood. A brief history of the wicked and murderous bandit from young narrator Hugh Jackman. In the old
I can't open the door. I can't sit here and fight. Because we're doing. Because I can see my grandparents. Like, I can't sit.
Don't open the door. I'm gonna let you know that right now.
And then what? What would happen? What are you trying to say?
You're not coming to dinner. You're not going to dinner.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
You know that's exactly what I mean. You don't know exactly what I mean. You're gonna come open this door right now, or there's gonna be a serious problem.
I can't. No. You can't keep making all these threats. Like, I can't open the door.
Now, me out of a place that you say is my home.
I didn't kick you out. You took all your shit and did. And so we were done.
Did not say we are done. Dom? Okay, ready? I'm gonna count to 10. The door's gonna open, okay? You're gonna open the door and stop hiding behind the door. Like
Wow.
a little bitch.
Talking to him like a damn child.
Kenzie, there's nothing I can do. Like, I can't. I'm not.
There is. Stop being a little bitch.
I can't let you in my house with how you're acting. Like, it's as simple as that. Like, there's no way I should. Like, Huh?
I'm just gonna break the handle. I'm already moving.
You can break the lock. Are you really gonna break into my house?
Yes, I will. I will break into my house. You're right. I will break into it.
It's not your house. Not.
Dom, now open the door. Now open the door. You have 30 seconds left on the phone call to open the door and we're done.
So if you're wondering how all of these prior acts were able to be brought into trial in the first place, since it's technically 404B evidence, it's because the prosecution filed motions to allow it in, saying that it went to Mackenzie's motive. According to court documents, the prosecution believed Mackenzie's past threats and aggression toward Dominic provided an important perspective of how Mackenzie responds in situations where she is displeased or in disagreement with others. Further, the evidence shows that she was aware of her ability to cause harm to the victims, especially by means of her own vehicle, and how she could use the power of threats and control to ultimately reach the outcome that she desired. The other act's evidence confirms that there was no mistake or accident in deliberately crashing her car and ending the lives of the victims. Dr. Esther Seng, a Metro Health System trauma surgeon who worked on Mackenzie's medical report, was also a witness in the trial. She told the court that Mackenzie told their team at the hospital that she did not remember what led to the crash. The prosecution also asked the surgeon to read part of the medical report. She said, and I quote, "Patient then became tearful, processing heavy loss and a depression since her accident. Patient shared feelings of grief, guilt, and shame. Patient stated she wanted to die and that it was her fault for killing her boyfriend." One of the prosecution's theories was that Mackenzie was afraid that Dominic might break up with her or really leave her, so instead, she decided to kill him with her car like she had threatened to do in the past. And poor Davion, who was just innocently trying to get a ride home, was collateral damage, and Mackenzie didn't even care if he died too. However, some people who were at the same party before the crash didn't recall anything crazy going on between Dominic or Mackenzie that night, so either something must have happened in the car, or she planned on going through with it that night anyway. But the prosecution had even more damning evidence to prove this was, in fact, a premeditated, planned murder, because there was evidence that Mackenzie had been to that area of the crash just 3 days beforehand, and they showed the courtroom data of her cell phone being in that vicinity. They suggested this as proof that she was familiar with the scene before the day of the crash and believed that this was her attempt to scope out the area and come up with a plan. It was also brought up that maybe Mackenzie was trying to kill herself along with Dominic and Davion in the car, but just happened to survive. Okay, can I be honest? I used to walk into the gym and I would immediately feel overwhelmed. Like, am I supposed to be doing hip thrusts, dumbbells, lift?
My name is Jamie Flanagan. I am the mother of the victim, Davion Flanagan. I want to share a small part of what we lost on 7/31/2022. My son Davion is and always will be so much more than a partner. He was precious. He was an amazing soul with a heart full. He gave to the world what he wanted most in his own life: love. The kind of love that would rescue a friend in the middle of the night, no questions asked. The kind that would protect others and honor them. He made friends easily with his infectious smile. He was a gifted athlete. He had plans to go to barber school and open his own shop. My son did not have a clique of friends, but instead was a friend to all. He would go out of his way to show love and kindness to others, including those that were often cast aside by society, the less fortunate, the developmentally challenged, the hurting, and the undone. Davion made sure that everyone that crossed his path knew that he truly saw them, that he valued them, and that they were worth his time. Davion and my kids have had more than their fair share of heartbreak, of hardship, and of loss. Davion was adopted with his sisters from foster care. They are biological siblings. We are honored to be chosen, or to have been chosen, to be the parents. They're forever family. I am devastated by the loss of Davion. The world lost a truly special man. My girls lost their best friend, their protector, the one and only trusted family that has been by their side from day one. This alone, or he alone, understands the pain and loss that they have gone through and was always there for them. This fact alone breaks my heart and my goals for my family. So many dreams shattered, a future stolen. We will never get to see the amazing man that he was surely to become. His life was precious. Like I said, it was so much more than Carmen. I pray daily for strength and perseverance for myself and for my family. I also pray that Mackenzie will find true remorse in her heart and true repentance. We thank all of those that worked so hard to help us bring justice for our son. We are forever thankful. Davion, we miss you terribly, but as Christians we pray with hope. We will make sure your memory lives on, and we ache the day that we are united again in eternity.
Extra absorbent, even for your messiest meals. Vanity Fair napkins. Elevate every day.
When I got out of the military, I worked for years just trying to push through the pain. Eventually,
Hello, could you start with your name? Hi, Your Honor. My name is Divine Flanagan. Davion was my older brother. The passing of Davion Martel Flanagan has been very difficult for me. We have gone through everything together since day one. Davion was a big brother to me and my younger sister, Leah. We all got adopted together in 2012. After Davion passed away, a lot of trauma and past pain has came into my life. So I found it to be difficult to build on this trauma, but it's traumatic event. Davion was not just a big brother to me, but a role model in many ways. He was the person I trusted the most because we knew those days. He taught me the importance of cherishing each moment and enjoying life. The memories we have are strong, but losing him has shown me the value of life. He has helped out with stories you can't understand, but it's worth it in the end. I don't want this pain for anyone else. I don't want people to have to go through this. As an 8-year-old, I hate the fact that it's gone because someone decided to end his life. Now that Davion is gone, I feel stuck. I feel as if I can't move forward. I feel lost. He was the one who picked me up when I fell. He was my best friend and the only person that has stayed with me since I was born. I would like me to give Mackenzie the longest possible sentence. I've known her for about 3 years, and she's always taken the easy way out. She will be eligible for parole, while my mother will be gone forever. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. Christina's not down next mother. No one wanted this to be murder. Part of what Mackenzie and Cheryl for this accident. But this was not a car accident. The evidence on Scotty proved that Mackenzie Cheryl murdered my son, Dominic, as well as Davion. There's no fix for them in this case, as the Cheryls would like it to reflect. I want to thank the Boswell Police Department in the state of Ohio for seeking the truth behind this crash. Thanks to them, we all know what happened in that car that day. What we don't know is why. I wish I could change this every day. I lost 3 children in that crash. And I'm gonna go by each day that I don't think about my son. With lost Davion, my house forever broken. The cries heard from the Cheryl family and friends after the verdict are nothing more than a lack of remorse. Mackenzie Cheryl had a choice. Dom and Davion did not. We are all left here in mourn. All what Dave, Dom, and Davion lost cannot be remedied in any way. and by any particular sentence. July 31st, 2022. Cope, because his mother is still lost my son made that. I knew that he was in the hospital. The first statement said to me was, "Oh, please don't listen to what everyone's saying on Facebook." Yeah, my son is dead. His friend is dead. Checking the knowledge. If social media is most important. Social media is made game out of the life of Mackenzie and is making a game out of this heart-wrenching tragedy. No one can imagine the pain of losing a child unless they've lost one themselves. The pain is forevermore. I was not healed this year. Mackenzie, going to prison because you did this. Be thankful that you're still alive and in the future, whatever that may be. Dom and Davion will around
Be right back.
of their futures, their hopes, and their dreams. Mackenzie showed no mercy on Dominic, nor did she on Davion. Only God at this time can have mercy on her soul. Thank you.
To hear their pain is so unbelievably heartbreaking and just unimaginable. When I was researching this case, I found a GoFundMe for Dominic's gravesite. The GoFundMe was from his sister, and it read, "Hi everyone, I'm Dominic's oldest sister. Dom tragically passed away on July 31st, 2022. He was 20 years old, and our hearts were left shattered to pieces. Since then, myself, my sister, and mom find comfort in keeping his gravesite a sight to see for everyone to come and enjoy. It started as his parents and siblings trying to hide the dirt after his burial, and it blossomed into this beautiful memorial site that keeps us working together in honor of Dom. My mom tends to it every day for hours, whether it's printing pictures for everyone to look at, adding solar lights, adding decorations, keeping up the landscaping around it, adding and exchanging hundreds of flowers, laminating letters and pictures, finding trinkets to add to it, or beautiful statues, etc. This is what we do it for Dom, and it's in honor of our beloved brother and son. Friends and family leave memorabilia, notes, pictures, things like that that remind them of Dom. Somehow yesterday, his grave was set on fire, and everything burned to the ground. Nothing was salvageable, except a cement cross. Most of the items were irreplaceable, such as flowers and ribbon from his funeral, letters from his nieces and nephews and friends and siblings and parents, stuffed animals, things that can't be replaced. The items cost us thousands of dollars and will cost us thousands to replace. Most items were very expensive. We spent on the flowers alone originally around $1,200. Each solar light decoration can range up to $50 a piece. We are asking for any donations from friends and family so that we can get his gravesite back to how it was, and before July 31st of this year, which marks his 1-year anniversary. Dom's grave means so much to us. Words can't explain. We miss and love you so much, our Nucci baby. Until we meet again, your sister loves you." Since then, the GoFundMe has been updated, stating, quote, "Hi everybody. Just wanted to say thank you for all of your generous donations. We were able to recreate Dom's grave beautifully. Any further donations will go to purchasing updated memorial items, such as flowers, etc. in the future. Thanks again. We love you so much, Dom." So when it came to sentencing, the state gave their recommendations for sentencing and reasoning.
Introducing new Ben & Jerry's ice cream bars. Put a stick in it.
Do you guys also get swamp ass after playing games for a long period of time? Well, don't you worry, because I've got a chair for you that solves that.
So when it came to sentencing, the state gave their recommendations for sentencing and reasoning.
There's very little that I can say after hearing from those who love Dominic and Davion in regards to the impact that the defendant's conduct had on these families' lives. And we have received a series of letters that have been submitted on behalf of the defendant. In summarizing these, they describe her as a good student and a loving and caring person, and that she could never do something like this. And they continually, despite the verdict, refer to this as an accident and an unfortunate accident, and tell you that she is also a victim. And there are just a few things that I think is important for the court to consider in determining a sentence today. Part of the evidence in this case and introduced in trial was evidence from the defendant's cell phone. There were search warrants executed on her various social media accounts, her school records, her medical records, things of this nature. And I think that who she actually was is directly contradictory to what is painted by the letter submitted on behalf of her today.
I'm not even cool. I'm just one of those girls that can do a lot of drugs and not die. I'm about to figure like a pin, I'm about to figure like a doll. Don't care if you think I'm dumb, I don't care at all. Candy best sweetie, if I don't wanna be adored, I'm the girl you die for.
I'm the kind of girl that can do drugs and like not die. I'm the girl you die for. Both of those videos were posted on her TikTok.
Shortly after the crash, Strongsville police were notified that they had received concerning emails from the community that the defendant and her mother were seeking employment with the Los Angeles modeling agency. Kenzie Sharilla said to Vitali, "Thank you for the comment. I would love to work with you guys. I've been emailing you guys a lot. Such a great opportunity. Thank you."
Is there a date?
There is not a date on this, Your Honor. Based on the investigation, it was delivered to the police while the defendant was still in the Metro Health Hospital. So it was during that time period. She was in the hospital for several weeks. Shortly after being released from the hospital, the police were provided additional videos of the defendant from her wheelchair as she attended a concert down in the Flats. And again, Your Honor, I'm introducing these to the court to show the shocking lack of remorse. This was something that was being exhibited while the investigation was still going on, before she was charged and arrested in November of last year. And these were the sort of things that were coming to the police, and the shocking lack of remorse, coupled with the fact that the defendant was reported driving an automobile. And shortly after this event, that she was seen in Strongsville again driving a car, in spite of the fact that, as her mother testified, she got dizzy sometimes from a condition that she had to take salt pills for, in spite of the fact that it was in fact her mother who provided her with the car that she used to take Dominic and Davion's life.
And I'm just gonna say it. I literally cannot with any of this bullshit with her. I literally cannot with this. The Instagram post while Mackenzie is in the hospital days after the accident, with her and her mom responding to a modeling agency in LA, are they out of their minds? I mean, maybe, but I think we know now where Mackenzie may have learned some of her behavior, which, no shade, but just saying. Mackenzie's mother also gave a statement before sentencing, and honestly, when I was watching this, I could not believe it. I contemplated if I wanted to include the whole thing, but I think it really is important because it gives so much insight into what all of these claims about who Mackenzie is and how she acts were really about.
Can you start with your name? I just want to say, my home address on the wall. Sure. I just want to say to the families that I'm broken, sad, and lost, and my heart bursts for a family home. Okay? Davio wasn't really fun, and Don was the love of my life, and he was part of our family. Okay? And I'm so sorry for the second of the part of my life.
Really?
Okay? And then, Your Honor, this was a terrible,
Really, lady?
tragic nightmare accident she had that she has no memory of, and she will never emotionally or physically recover from it. She almost died too. And we're asking that you please not run the sentence as consecutive, whose family will all love each other. That morning of the accident, she called, I got a phone call that there was a car accident. And so we went to the hospital, and I didn't even know who was in the car. 2 days had not been confirmed yet. And I'm still writing stories, and I still have so much we want to say. I called down, like over and over again, praying that he was going to answer the phone, and he didn't answer the phone. So then I tried to call his mom, and she didn't answer the phone either. And I still didn't know who was in the car. I didn't even know if she was alive. I didn't know what was happening. So then we were in the waiting room. And then Mom, and I think she did call me, so I answered the phone, and I was like, oh my God, like, I don't even know who was in the car, like, what's happening, was that Dom? And she said, what do you mean, my son is dead?
Really?
And I was like, I'm so sorry, and then she said something like, and now I have to wait till your kid's out
Man,
of the
why the
hospital,
hell
and
did
then
you have
I didn't
speak?
hear the rest. I was like, we loved him so much, and I hung up the phone, I did not talk about social media, and I didn't even know what was going on yet, okay? So then, that was in the hospital, that fatality post, I commented on that because somebody had called her a murderer, okay? And she's not a murderer, so she wouldn't have her phone, which is the police have still had it, okay? So I jumped on it, and I was like, you know, she's not a murderer, she's more sad than her, than most of these people commenting. She's been trying to get in touch with you, and that thing was just an accident. So I commented on really that, not because of the modeling opportunity. I don't even, who cares about that? I don't want them to refer to her as a murderer, okay? And I don't even know how that comment had gotten on the phone because the police still had her device. And she could not access her phone.
Ma'am, go
social
ahead.
media. That's why I did it. And I had told them, asking if they could shut down social media because people were calling her a murderer and making death threats and organizing groups to, you know, take her out when she got out of the hospital and stuff. So I don't even want her phone. I don't care about her phone. I don't care about social media. I just wanted them to stop calling her a murderer. So when she did come to, and she did come out of surgery, multiple surgeries, that she wouldn't see all these people calling her a murderer because she would never, ever, ever murder the love of her life. Okay? The Halloween, for 3 months after the accident, she would only wear his clothes. She would only eat the snacks he ate. She would only listen to the music he wrote. And she was waiting there for 3 months, flying to crying of him next to her with photos and things that he liked, and this flower that lights up that he got her because he wanted it to be fresh and alive forever. It's like a little Vietnamese flower. Okay, she's got this shrine of him next to her. So she was crying for 3 months. So her friends asked if she wanted to go out trick-or-treating for Halloween, and it was like, oh, you. And she didn't even want to go. She said, I don't know, should I go? She couldn't even walk yet, barely. So I told her, I said, baby, please go. It's Halloween. You've been waiting for 3 months crying, only listening to his music. Please go. Have just a moment of fun. A moment of fun. So we told her to go. My husband drove her. I brought her back home. And she just needed a second of fun from losing her whole world. So it was us. We told her to go. And that concert she went to with Dom's cousin, and they picked her up. They brought her there. That was Dom. We can't say Dom and
I'm
Daddy
still here. I'm
all
just
sang
eating.
this concert together while they were in the hospital. That was for them. Everything she did after the accident was either an honor of him, to get close to him, or just to be by him any way that she can. She's like devastated and trained because the air that she breathes. Okay, and they went with his cousin. We spent all kinds of time with him after the accident. What was the other thing?
I'm hearing an awful lot about your daughter. I'm not hearing very much about her.
They all love each other. They all spend every day together. You know what I mean? I don't.
And isn't that part of the problem, Mrs. Sherrill?
Sorry?
Isn't that part of the problem, that they all trusted each other? Isn't that part of...
It's not a problem at all.
Now it's bad that a judge got to ask this question.
I understand. I understand what it looks like. I'm saying that it was a tragic accident.
Well, we're going to have to disagree on that, right? And I respect your position, that you disagree with me.
I understand. But anyway, I just wanted to address those. We told her to go to those things, and then she did go in Dom's family. So look at that. Don't look at him. Look on that belief. But I said, didn't care. Please.
Those things are not relevant to myself.
Not at all.
No,
not at all.
I agree.
So if you have a moment, all you would need is 5 minutes of conversation to have with her to learn who she is. Just then, you don't need 5 minutes to learn who she is and what she's capable of not doing and doing, and you can see for yourself.
The freaking audacity.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know where to start, but let's break this down. First of all, that was the most insincere apology made to the victims' families that she could have possibly come up with. Second, why the hell was she referring to Davion as a new friend? I'm glad the judge called her out on this and said, well, does that make his death less bad? Instead of a statement on behalf of Mackenzie, I believe she made these things 100 times more worse for her. Her entire little speech was trying to argue what the prosecution just said about her instead of, I don't know, saying just about anything else. It is truly unbelievable. Mackenzie spoke and begged the judge for mercy.
The family. Oh God, and Davion, I'm so deeply sorry. I hope one day you can see how I never let this happen or do it on purpose. I wish I could remember what happened. I'm just so sorry. I'm heartbroken. I love Dom and Davion. We were all friends, and Dom was my soulmate. I wish I could take all your pain away. And I'm so sorry. And to my family, thank you for the support and all the love you guys give. Thank you for fighting with me. I love you all so much.
Can you imagine? This, and even this. All made by one machine? Choose X Tool. More tools, more power, more creativity.
Lately, I've really been trying to clean up my wardrobe quite a bit, like not in like a capsule wardrobe influencer type of way, because let's be real, like I still am emotionally attached to, oversized sweatshirts, things that I love. But I'm trying to get pieces that feel elevated and easy to wear and easy to pair together. And Quince has a long time been my go-to for things like that, and especially now as we're about to get into summer, because their stuff feels way more expensive than it is. Their linen pieces are especially so good. Super breathable, flattering, comfortable, kind of like the outfit where people ask you, hey, where's that from? Then they do a double take when you tell them the price. I just got a really great pair of linen pants and a linen blazer that I plan to live in this summer. They use really high quality materials, European linen, organic cotton, ultra soft denim, and because they work directly with manufacturers and cut out the middleman, the prices are actually reasonable, which honestly feels so rare these days because it feels like a basic white t-shirt is suddenly like $150 everywhere. I also love that their stuff is easy to mix into everyday life. You could just throw on one of their dresses or their linen pants and instantly look put together, even if internally your life feels like complete chaos. So refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/AE for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/AE for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/AE. When it came time for sentencing, the judge did not mince words, and the judge absolutely slammed Mackenzie.
Today is the sentencing of the defendant for the purposeful and intentional murders of Davion Flanagan and Dominic Rousseau. And in a way, it's the second time their families are gathered again to grieve. It's also a day when Mackenzie's family will grieve for the future of their daughters. All three of these families and the friends of these families are suffering, and all of their lives have been irrevocably changed because of the actions of the defendant. The unintended and collateral consequences of a selfish, intentional, and cruel decision by Mackenzie will ripple forever in time. It's literally changed history because it's ended two lives. Their deaths were horrible, terrifying, and tragic. I will say again, if any reasonable person reviews Exhibit 802, there can be no doubt in your mind what happened this night. There can be no doubt of the absolute terror of the two people in that car. The defendant controlled all the events. She chose the day. Specifically, she chose a day just before her 18th birthday. She chose to drive the car, the time to drive the car. She chose an obscure, previously scouted route through an industrial parkway. She chose the target to hit and the victims. She chose the means and the method to follow through. But she planned and purposely executed the events of July 31st, 2022. The review of the evidence supports the factual findings, the forensic testimony, the testimony of the first responders, the testimony of the emergency room doctors who treated the defendant, the testimony of the coroner's medical examiner, the testimony of those who knew the victims and the defendant, and the testimony of the BMV official who provided evidence that not only did the defendant deny any medical condition when applying for her license, which her mother co-signed and attested to, but also that just after the accident, Mackenzie renewed her driver's license and again denied any medical condition. In fact, the defendant was so concerned about driving that, as the state mentioned during the investigation, she asked if they could just suspend her license for 10 years. It is hard to fathom how a person could be concerned about their driving privileges, having just been responsible for the deaths of 2 people. There was no medical condition that caused this as an accident. There was no mechanical failure of the car. The record is clear on the facts and the evidence. Her mother's uncorroborated statements without any medical testimony or records is not persuasive. It is also important to remember that even if Mackenzie intended to also die in this crash, that is irrelevant. A failed suicide attempt is not a defense to murder. And even in a murder-suicide attempt, when the perpetrator executing the plan survives, the other death or deaths are still murder.
Ready, babe?
Ready to go.
Dream, make it to the NFL.
He's going. We at the base.
There's only one person who's responsible for the pain of everyone in this room. That person is you, Mackenzie. Nobody else is responsible. This isn't the fault of Dominic's family, or Davion's family, or your family. And I know that each of you have asked your questions to yourselves, what if? What if I had done this or that? The truth of it is, none of us can control the intentions of another. And when there is a purposeful intent to harm or kill someone, it is the perpetrator alone who bears the responsibility for the choice and the consequences and the harm that follows. The difficulty for sentencing today, honestly, is whether or not I believe you should get consecutive sentences. I'm troubled that should I give you a concurrent sentence, that people will believe that somehow I'm being disrespectful to one of the victims. And on the other hand, I have to weigh the punishment. There's a very good likelihood, Mackenzie, that you will spend the rest of your life in prison. That won't be up to me. That will be up to the parole board, and that will be up to you to a great extent.
Mackenzie was sentenced 15 years to life, meaning she will be at least 34 years old during the first time that she is eligible for parole. And unless Mackenzie shows true change, takes accountability for her actions, or does some serious self-reflection to realize the devastation that she caused to her victims' families, she will be lucky if she gets out the first time she's up for parole. That now leads us into some major updates in this case. After her trial, Mackenzie got a new legal team, and they were doing everything in their power to prove that Mackenzie was innocent. They claimed that she had a medical episode that occurred at or around the time of the car accident, what they're calling, quote, the incident. And they're saying that that medical episode caused her to ultimately lose consciousness, which then resulted in the crash. They also claimed that key evidence in the case had been missed during her trial. Evidence that they say proved that Dominic was actually the one threatening Mackenzie and not the other way around. Now, this proof that they had, it was text messages from Mackenzie's phone. And one of the text messages is from July 17th, 2022. It was sent at 12:45 p.m., so just afternoon, and it said, quote, "Can you come get Dom? He just grabbed my steering wheel on the highway trying to spin out my car and hurt me." End quote. Then, that same day, just a few hours later, at 4:27 p.m., Dom texted Mackenzie saying, quote, "I'm sorry," to which she responded, "That is not enough to fix it this time." So with these messages, her new legal team is saying, no, look, He is the one who put her life at risk in the past. He is the one who would antagonize her.
Blah,
We
blah,
have a
blah.
history here. We have a pattern, which, to be honest, I think there was probably toxicity in both directions in this relationship. In October of 2024, Mackenzie's defense team then filed its post-conviction relief petition, otherwise known as a PCR. And in this, they requested a new trial. But get this, you can't just file those things whenever you and your defense team are, feeling up to it. It's something that has to be done in a timely manner. And Mackenzie's defense team, well, they were 1 day past the deadline that is mandated by Ohio law. So, Judge Nancy Margaret Russo, the same judge who found her guilty during her trial, denied this petition. Which, look, I can understand the frustration with that. Technically, yes, you gotta follow the rules. If it's mandated by state law, there's a deadline. I also can see the argument where people will say, it was only 1 day late, don't be so rigid, let it go in, all of these things. But then, I think when you do that, you have to make allowances for 2 days late, or 3 days late. I don't know. So, I understand the frustration here, but I also understand why the decision was made. So then, Mackenzie's parents broke their silence. Now, up until this point, they were not doing interviews or any public appearances whatsoever. Now, why they finally decided to, who really knows? Maybe it was a Hail Mary, maybe it was trying to humanize the situation. It's really unclear. And I want to play some of it for you, because if nothing else, I feel like it's fair to say this family sure has the audacity. Okay? Now again, if you are listening to the audio version of this, it will be clear, but there will be captions and video on the YouTube version.
I struggle with this because how can I feel bad that these two boys died and feel grief with these families and then be absolutely overjoyed that my kid is alive? Show me one piece of evidence, one, that says she did this on purpose. Show it to me. There it is. That's it. Then she's right where she belongs, and she's guilty of it. But there isn't any. There's no evidence what was going on in that car other than the information they gleaned from the black box information.
And these poor families think she did it intentionally, and she didn't. And and they don't know. There's information they didn't see. There's information they didn't have. There's information we didn't see or have it.
Should she be in prison for murder?
No, absolutely not.
Should she be in prison for aggravated vehicular homicide?
I don't even know about that.
I don't know about the aggravated part, because I don't think you can still say why what's going on in the car. Should she have been charged with reckless vehicular homicide, 2 counts? Absolutely. Absolutely.
If it was medical, what kind of hopes, what kind of expectations do you have for Mackenzie's future?
That the truth will set her free. That's what I need to have happen. The truth, that there was no intent. That part, the truth will set her free.
So when I first saw this interview, my jaw was on the floor. Honestly, I don't even really know why. I mean, Mackenzie's mom had proved to us before that she just rambles and makes excuses for her daughter. So I don't know why I expected her to change or for there to be a different tone to this conversation or what, but it did somehow still surprise me. And I think if I were Mackenzie, I'm just, putting myself in her shoes for a moment, I'd be telling my mom, zip it, stop talking, go into hiding. I don't need you speaking on my behalf anymore, because at this point, if she keeps it up, she may ruin any chance of Mackenzie ever getting out on parole. And while we're on the topic of the whole Sherilla family, we also have to go over another thing. I never had too much hope that Mackenzie would show actual remorse. I think she's entitled. I think she thinks that the rules don't apply to her. And I just never expected to see genuine remorse from her. Because to me, Mackenzie has already proved that she has always seen herself as the victim, and that she probably always will think that way. And in the summer of 2025, there were some jail calls between Mackenzie and her mother that were released. One of the calls was from August of 2023, and it was about a court hearing that Mackenzie had been through. And instead of just describing this call to you, I'm gonna play you some clips again, because I feel like it is much better hearing things through their mouths and how they deliver the statements. So take a listen.
How do you think I did, okay? Yeah, that prosecutor was pissing me off, though. I don't know what, I was getting so pissed off. I wanted to, get up and be like, shut the fuck up, and, tell him to sit, so bad. He was pissing me off. He was so rude. Ready for anything. We got nothing to hide. You can ask me anything you want. All I've been eating is peanut butter bread and cookies. Yeah.
Mandarin Grogu.
All I've been eating is peanut butter bread and cookies.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to see how that you can please have somebody get that to work for you.
I know I'm going to. It's just irritating as.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I hate how I don't like how I can't come out of my room. Why the fuck am I on a 7-day hold? That just pisses me off.
It's just part of the procedure. There's nothing you can do about that.
There's a third victim and it's me, and I lost the love of my life and a good friend, and now I have to deal with this grief the rest of my life and deal with like being like scared to drive and stuff. Like that's just like.
I know, honey. There's nothing I can do about that. So.
Can you just pay my bond and get me out of here, please? Like go to a bail bondsman and see if they can pay the 10%. Why aren't you listening? I'm gonna hang.
I am listening. Just think of somebody.
I don't.
You were talking. I don't know how much an appeal is. Okay, so can we just wait until Monday? Okay.
Yeah, let's just wait until Monday, when I can just they're probably gonna take my bond away on Monday.
That's what I mean. So let's just wait.
What do you mean? That's what you mean. They're probably gonna say there's no more bond on Monday.
No, we don't know if that's true or not. I don't know the whole situation. You're just gonna have to wait.
This is just wrong. What they're doing is so wrong, and they're just trying to juice it.
I know.
Yes, I'm getting very irritated. Like, and I need to get the fuck out of jail because they're just trying to fuck me over bad as fuck.
Mackenzie also brought up her medical condition, claiming that it had now gotten worse ever since being in jail, and that now she was having even worse episodes than she ever had before.
First of all, when I got diagnosed, nobody ever told me that anything about driving on the license.
Exactly. No.
That was never said.
Nope. If we do have it, we will.
Yeah, like I don't care. Why would you lie and just not do that? If I knew that could affect my driving, I probably would never drive. Like.
Well, no. People are allowed to drive with that, so don't say that.
And ever since I got in here, it's been bad again. Like I don't know what it is. Like I blacked out the other day, and like it was so weird. It was like not normal. Like it wasn't like bad how it usually is, but it was also like not like good. I don't know how to explain it. It was like the first time I ever had a blackout like that. Like it was like weird as fuck. I don't know how to explain it.
Well, just make sure you're eating. Okay, when you get your if you can do your commissary, make sure you get some chips.
Now, like I said, those calls were back in 2023, so who really knows whether she was exaggerating those blackouts, exaggerating the symptoms, just trying to look better for her trial? Who knows? But it does seem to me, at least, like she still is standing by the idea that she had some sort of medical condition. And I'm really curious to know what you think about that, though, because when this case first exploded, it felt like, honestly, the overwhelming majority of people believed that Mackenzie was guilty, that this was intentional, entitlement, audacity, all those words, right? No question. But now, with some of these text messages coming out, and Mackenzie and her medical condition claims, do you feel the same? Do you feel like there's room for, questioning that, and that maybe it's not as black and white as people thought? Do you think that those text messages are enough to potentially change the outcome of this case? And do you believe that there's a world in which some other scenario occurred, and that's what caused the crash? That it wasn't Mackenzie's doing? Whether it was one of the passengers grabbing the wheel, or some sort of genuine medical episode that triggered it? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, I still firmly believe what I believe about this case. Yes, I don't think that those text messages are great, but again, I think it just shows toxicity from both sides. I still think that even if it was a medical episode, I would imagine that there would be a level of remorse. Even if when I've gotten into a car crash in the past, and if I had someone in the car and I just rear end somebody, you're remorseful, even if it's an accident, And so even if it was this thing that she had no control over, where's the remorse and the accountability with that to say, I'm devastated, I can't believe this happened, my illness, I need help. I don't know. It's just not quite landing for me. But maybe I'm rigid in my views. Who the hell knows? So curious to know what you guys think about this case. Maybe I will also throw a poll up on Spotify just so that we can gauge what everybody's thinking. But take a quick second. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment that says, I think this was intentional, or I think this was accident. gauge the responses. And for all of my podcast listeners, if you're listening to this on Spotify, you can vote on the poll. But if you're listening on Apple, leave a review for the podcast and let me know in the section where you can write a review. Let me know what you think about this case. So thank you so much for listening. Let me know too if you watched the Netflix documentary The Crash and what your thoughts are now after seeing that as well. But I always like to come on here and cover some of the documentaries that I'm familiar with already with the case that Netflix covers, because there's only so much information you can squeeze into 90 minutes or even like 3 45-minute episodes. And I feel like sometimes a lot of the minutia, the details get lost within it. And so that's why I'm here, to give you the deep dives, to give you all the information that maybe isn't shown because it can't be squeezed into a 60-minute episode. So again, if you're brand new and this is the first episode of mine you've heard and you appreciate the case coverage and you feel like it's your style, your vibe, make sure that if you're listening on the podcast, you press the follow button so that you don't miss future episodes. And if you're watching this on YouTube, press the subscribe button so that you don't miss future videos. All right, everybody, thank you again for tuning in today. And until the next one, be nice.
Here's the second part. Come on.
Pretty great. Masters of the Universe. PG-13. Early screenings this Wednesday, everywhere Friday.
Our cooking here at Esme's is very
Hey, True Crime Besties. Welcome back to an all-new episode of Serialously. Hello, and welcome back to an all-new episode of Serialously with me, Annie Elise. Now, you're noticing, I'm sure, that this is a bonus episode. It's not the typical Monday or Thursday episode. It is a bonus episode, and here's why. On Monday, I released a deep dive into the Mackenzie Shirilla case. Now, this is a case that I first covered years and years and years ago, before I went to the trial, again after the trial. But then, as I'm sure many of you have seen, there is a new documentary on Netflix called The Crash. It is polarizing. Everybody is glued to it. There are a lot of conflicting opinions out there about, did she do it? Did she not? Was it an accident? What happened? Was it a medical emergency? All these things. So I did a deep dive on Monday where I went through, we review footage, phone calls, timelines, receipts, screenshots, everything that Netflix basically left out, okay? But then I was remembering, okay? A couple of years ago, back in 2023, someone reached out to me to participate in a documentary on this case. And with that, they sent me the police report, different reports from the prosecutor's office, all these different things. And I saved all of it. You can see here, I have pages and pages and pages and pages. And I had like my notebook with, that I was scribbling in feverishly, all of these things. So I was like, you know what? I want to just go back to all of that really quick because I remember there being like these really clear things, in my opinion, that were black and white that illustrated not only that she absolutely did this intentionally, but a lot of information about the parents. I vaguely had remembered some like sex work activity. There were a lot of things. So I went back through all of my documents over the weekend and earlier this week. And when I tell you, we know Netflix likes to leave things out, or they don't like to, but they have to for legality reasons. Also, you can only fit so much in a 90-minute program. But there, already in the deep dive from Monday, there was so much information that I put out that Netflix didn't include. But then I was like, wait, there are 5 bombshells, I should say, that Netflix left out. The biggest ones, in my opinion, that I feel like gives so much more context to this case and what the truth really is. I'm talking more information about her parents, her blood sample from the morning of the crash being disposed of by the doctor, being thrown away, no blood, no drug test ordered on it, but actually being completely disposed of. Actual past behavior allegations from her friends, which some people spoke out in the documentary, in my opinion. The majority of them were trying to protect her, but actual testimony from friends where they verbatim say that she was constantly threatening self-harm, that reference the toxicity of their relationship with Dom. And then also her own dad in the police report, which don't worry guys, I'm going to read these documents to you like verbatim, but her own dad in the police report saying that Mackenzie did this intentionally. And we also are going to talk about that whole sex offense section that was, once again, in the whole like police write-up, but didn't make it to Netflix for whatever reason. So today I want to go through the biggest things that Netflix left out. And I want to start with the parents. I have seen some stuff on social media since people have watched this documentary questioning the parents' remorse, their accountability, them trying to just protect their daughter, all of these things. But there are a few things, and I have my notes here, the police reports here, but there's a few things I want to go through with you on this, because I found this information pretty interesting, and again, I think it provides context, so I want to share it with you guys. So at 9:05 a.m. on August 1st, which was the day after the crash, the police report states that her mom had said to the officers that her husband said not to say anything until they have a lawyer. We also did hear that in the documentary. But adjacent to that, she also said immediately, this was the day after the crash, she said that she was worried about the public's reaction on social media. That was her primary concern within 24 hours of the first responders arriving to the crash scene, finding out that these two boys were killed, her daughter still in the hospital. And I want to read this for you verbatim. So this was at 9:05 a.m. and it says, I have my highlighted section here, I'm just gonna, go forward a little bit. So it says, I explained to her that once Mackenzie is discharged from the ICU, I would be interested in interviewing her. She mentioned that her husband told her not to say anything until they have legal representation, which, okay, fine, fair. I encouraged her to pass my contact information along to her attorney. So we agreed that I will call her next week to check on Mackenzie's status. But then Natalie expressed concern about the public's reaction on social media, as if that is like the biggest deal right now. And the reason I bring that up is because it all goes into perspective. And let me just continue on here. It's because actually, maybe, let me see, I'm going to just look at my notes. Actually, I guess I'll just talk to you about this right now. We did see in the documentary how while Mackenzie was recovering within just literal days after the accident, 2 days after the crash, I don't want to say accident, hurry up! 2 days after the crash, I don't want to say accident, 2 days after the crash, as a matter of fact, when brands were reaching out to Mackenzie on her social media, being like, hey, can we use this photo, can we do this? And her mom was responding as her, being like, oh my god, we would love to collaborate, like, we've been trying to contact you, da-da-da-da-da. In addition to that, her mom was also allegedly soliciting LA-based modeling agencies, trying to get her daughter signed to a modeling agency while Mackenzie was in the hospital because she was starting to get some attention on social media. This was 2 days after the crash. Again, that's the priority. So you have her saying, we're so worried about what the public's reaction is going to be on social media, while simultaneously trying to get her daughter signed with different brands and modeling agencies. It's so gross that is where the priority was, and that's where the focus was. Additionally, Mackenzie then, after this conversation took place, an officer went into the hospital room, started just speaking very lightly, not a full interview or anything like that. And Mackenzie had told the officer that she left Rosie's house before the crash, not Paul's. Now maybe that was just her memory being foggy, who knows, absolutely. But what her memory being foggy, who knows, absolutely. But what I thought was interesting is that her mom immediately interjected to end that conversation before Mackenzie could even finish. She just cut her off and cut it off, stop talking, which again, I understand you want to protect yourself legally, you don't want to say anything that is self-incriminating, but it's just a lot of things that when you layer them together, it starts to illustrate, in my opinion, a pretty uncomfortable situation. So then, later that same day, 1 day after the crash, the mom called the police around 8 p.m. asking for Mackenzie's cell phone. She said that she needed her phone so that she could access Mackenzie's Snapchat to get a passcode. Now look, I don't know how Snapchat works. I thought it was for messages and photos and videos. I didn't know that you would like house a passcode in there or anything like that. But she said that she needed access to Snapchat. And she called multiple times, every single day, asking the police for Mackenzie's phone back so that she could access Snapchat, which my first thought went to, why does she need to access Snap? Is she trying to delete stuff? Is she trying to hide stuff? And let me read this for you, and I'm just going to read snippets of like these documents that are in the police report. But it says, Sergeant Nib called me to let me know that Mackenzie's mother, Natalie, called the station requesting access to her daughter's cell phone. She specifically wanted access to the social media app Snapchat. She said it was to receive a passcode. I told Sergeant Nib the phone was a material piece of evidence and that it will not be released until I apply for a search warrant, which at the time was with APA under review. And then it goes on to say how she requested it multiple times, kept calling back, and like was like a dog with a bone and would not let it go. Then the following day, on the 6th of August, so now 7 days technically after the crash, her mom called the police and she reported that there were mean people on social media who were blaming Mackenzie for the crash and alleging that she had killed Dom on purpose. So again, more of like, what's the public's reaction going to be? Now calling the police being like, they're blaming my daughter all over social media. They're saying that she did it on purpose. They're blaming her. Just once again, like, read the room. Read the room right now, given the situation. The following day, it was set to be one of the services, the service for Dom. And apparently Mackenzie was being very combative in the hospital. She wanted to attend this funeral. They advised her, you are not well enough, you can FaceTime in, it's not a good idea. But she was so determined that she nearly signed herself out AMA, against medical advice. It was so combative, as a matter of fact, in the hospital, that officers ended up being called and dispatched to the hospital. They didn't have to restrain her or do anything like that. The nurse was able to talk her into staying, but she became very combative. Officers ended up being called. And that kind of takes me back to a different incident when officers were called on Mackenzie. Because in this police report, and let me pull this up, it was from back in 2020, so a little bit, a year or so before the crash, and psych was called to her house because she was threatening to take her own life. Which, if you remember, in the documentary, her friends, her parents, they say she never had those ideations. She was happy, she was great, she had a beautiful life. But the cops were called, and psych was called, because she was making threats. And let me go here. It said, back here from the hospital room, it said, 2 officers responded to the room where Sharilla was being treated because she was being combative. The officers stood by and they didn't take any action. Printout was added, all these things. Female will not be so then here is the 2020 incident. It says the call was psych related. They requested assistance from SPD. Mackenzie was reportedly threatening self-harm. She was, and the whole world, like, she was threatening to take her own life. I'm just trying to, like, censor the S word on here because YouTube likes to flag me. She was not transported for an evaluation. During the call, SFD requested the SPD officers respond, so the fire department requesting that the police department respond, but no reason was given. The following disposition was then entered by the dispatcher into the call. It says, female will not be transported to the hospital. Parents do not think that her threats are real. They do not believe that she will hurt herself. So there is, in fact, a history of her making these threats against her own life, and we're only scratching the surface here, like, just wait. So, social media, she's being combative, the 2020 incident, okay, all these things. Another thing you may have noticed if you watched the documentary is that her parents were basically like defending Mackenzie to the ends of the earth. That she was a great kid, even though she was like ripping bong hits at 17 years old every day. But like, she was a great kid. She never got into trouble. She was responsible, even though I also will talk to you about potential alleged sex work in a minute here. But defending her to the death, right? Mackenzie could do no wrong. She's an angel. Well, here's how much they were defending her to the death, okay? While Mackenzie was still in the hospital, as officers were, wanting to interview people, get statements, get some sort of, pulse check on, like, what was going on, what was the energy like, what's her history with Dom like, what was the relationship like, the mother was trying to silence her friends, telling them not to cooperate with the investigators, not to speak with them, and not to share details. In fact, at one point too, which I'll read here in a minute, when the officers were talking to Davion's family, they had said, like, hey, have you talked to Landon, otherwise known as Bubba, which was Mackenzie's best friend Rosie's boyfriend. They're like, have you talked to him? And they're like, oh yeah, he actually requested to come walk Davion's bedroom the day after the crash to get some sort of peace and closure. And the officer's like, well, he's not cooperating with the investigation. He won't answer, he won't let us interview him, he won't talk with us. Then they further went on to say that while Bubba, Landon, was at the hospital, Mackenzie's dad went up to him and said, help me save my daughter, saying that, you know, not, I don't know, like, that was after the mom had said to all the friends, don't talk to the police, all of this stuff. And let me read this for you. It says, so next I inquired whether Davion's best friend, Landon Bubba Turner, had been in contact with them. They both, and this is Davion's parents, okay? They both stated that immediately after the crash, he requested and was granted permission to walk through Davion's bedroom as a means of seeking closure. When I informed them that he was not cooperating with the investigation, they mentioned that Landon had told them about an encounter that he had with Sharilla at the hospital. He was visiting Mackenzie, and according to Landon, Steve looked him in the eye and asked him to help save his daughter. Now, this, I think, you can read into it a couple different ways. One, why isn't he cooperating? The dad is also asking him to help him save his daughter, which I would argue is not a passive-aggressive statement, but like a statement with a significant undertone to it. And he wanted to go walk the bedroom to seek closure of his friend, yet he's not willing to cooperate with the investigation and answer any questions. That doesn't make sense. How are you, if you're so torn up about your friend's death, so much so that you need to walk his bedroom to seek closure immediately after, and you're asking his parents for that, why are you not forthcoming with the police and giving them information? Just doesn't make sense, right? So I already talked to you too about how, like, the priorities seem to be replying to the brands, contacting the LA modeling agencies, what the perception's going to be on social media, and her friend and her parents basically defending her to the death. Mackenzie runs the show, in my opinion, 1000% through and through with her parents. I think that she steamrolls them, yells at them, kicks her little feet, stamps her feet, and gets her way every time. Because there are also direct quotes within this whole police report from the time that she was in the hospital where she was yelling at her parents, yelling curse words at them, telling them, get the hell out of my hospital room, get the fuck out of here, don't talk to the police without me. At one point too, when the police brought what they had recovered from the car, there was like $162 in cash or something like that, and they gave it to her parents, and she said, put that money in my bag, put it in my bag. Like, that's what you're concerned about when you're laid up on a hospital bed with a neck brace and, like, you know, completely bedridden. But that's how she was. She was verbally aggressive toward her parents, spitting commands, doing things like that. This is not a typical 17-year-old girl who has rules, a curfew, anything like that. She has entitlement. And her parents, in my opinion, enabled the entire thing. They're not yelling at her. They're not. When she yelled at her dad and said, get out of my room, he left. He scurried out of the hospital room like a little fucking pussy. Like, it's absolutely mind-boggling. Then when, like, the parents are telling, please don't talk to them without me, she is the, grown-up, apparently, in this situation. It's unbelievable. Meanwhile, remember how, if you watch the documentary, how her parents, again, were saying, she was a good kid, she was responsible, we had nothing to work out. No, she owned your asses. She owned you hook, line, and sinker and got away with murder. Not a pun, not an expression, literally. Well, I guess she didn't get away with it because she's locked up, but you get what I mean. So now let's get into this part, because in this police report, her dad said that Mackenzie did this intentionally. And I actually am going to just read this for you verbatim. So, it says, according to both officers, Metro Health Police Sergeant Adam Doyle asked them about the status of this investigation. Sergeant Doyle further added that during Mackenzie's stay at Metro Health, her father told Sergeant Doyle that Mackenzie intentionally drove her vehicle into the building in an attempt to take her own life. Sergeant Doyle's statement, though, was not documented in the only MHPD report that I was able to obtain involving Mackenzie. And I'm going to read this page for you as well. It says that Sergeant Doyle proceeded to recount the incident with Steve Shirilla on the day that Mackenzie was trying to leave the hospital to presumably attend Dom's funeral. Remember when she was getting super combative, she was trying to leave, they had to call the officers in. Sergeant Doyle said, quote, Mr. Shirilla stated to him that they had to keep her in the hospital because she's already tried to kill herself and she killed those 2 boys. Now, why this little tidbit wasn't entered into Netflix, I don't know. Maybe because it was recollection and it wasn't entered into an official police report. I have no idea. But I think that that's pretty major, right? That the father,
I would
in the
kind
first
of
few
think
days
so.
of this crash taking place, acknowledges that Mackenzie was trying to take her own life and that she killed these 2 boys and that it was intentional. That's a pretty huge piece of information,
I would
right?
think so.
Seems like something you'd want to know. So now let's move into the next bucket, okay? And we're going to talk about the drugs and we're going to talk about the blood testing, or lack thereof, I should say. So let's talk about that night and the timeline, okay? So we know that she went to Kelly's around 10 to 10:15 p.m. There, she and Dom reportedly were asking for acid. You know, they said, do you trip? She said no. They were looking for acid. She and Dom then said that they wanted some, and they left. So they arrived at Paul's house, but I should say in between that period of time, because they left about 20 minutes later, and there is a window of time about like an hour and some change before they arrived at Paul's house, there was apparently another house in the neighborhood where they did sell that, or you would get that, whatever. So they then arrived at Paul's at 12 a.m. Paul was really tired, so at 1 o'clock he went upstairs and he went to sleep. He said that he woke up around 2 or 3 a.m., came downstairs to grab some water. He saw Mackenzie sleeping, but the rest of the friends were still awake and they were watching South Park. Then Dom starts sending his final messages. At 2:53, he texted his dad. Between 12:41 and 3:30, he was sending text messages to his brother, his friends, his mom, and his dad saying, I love you. And then at 2:41 a.m., he tried to FaceTime his friend Blair, which Blair later said that this was very unusual for Dom. So the group then leaves at 5:30 a.m. And we know that the crash happens and all that. But here, I think I'm going to sneeze. Here is what's really frustrating. There was no drug testing conducted on her initial ER blood sample because the physician canceled the order. The ER did not even test for drugs. And I'm going to go to this page and I want to read this again, verbatim. So, okay. I called Metro Health Records Department to inquire about the life flight report and the toxicology report. I spoke with, I'm going to leave it blank, who said that the life flight report will be included among the documents requested in the search warrant. Debbie, okay, I didn't put a last name, whatever. Debbie further stated that no drug testing was conducted on Mackenzie's blood because a physician canceled the order. I called APA Troop to inform him that according to the Metro Health Medical Records Office what was going on and that the ER did not test the blood for drugs. Then a blood sample from several days later, the 3rd of August, was taken and remained at the hospital and sent for testing. So that initial blood sample while she was in flight, while she was getting help in the ER, was discarded of based on the directive of the ER physician. Why? Who the hell even knows, right? So, here's another thing that's really interesting and frustrating. The sample from the 31st, the day of the crash, that was discarded and disposed of, was disposed of after a search warrant had already been served for the sample. So, let me read this to you. It says, I called Metro Health's pathology department, and I was ultimately transferred to Core Lab. I spoke with blank, who told me that the only blood samples that they have for Mackenzie is from August 3rd. She explained that Mackenzie's blood from July 31st was disposed of per their policy, and it was disposed of on August 5th. It's worth noting the search warrant for the blood was served to Metro Health on August 4th. The audio recording of this call was also preserved under the search warrant. So it's then further down it says, the MH Core Lab disposed of the sample collected on July 31st on August 5th, on August 5th, which was 1 day after I served them the search warrant. So why was this blood sample disposed of after receiving a warrant that they had to turn it over? It kind of reminds me, if you're familiar with the Karen Reed case, when all of them were like ordered to preserve their phones and they were served the order, and then the next day or whatever, they start breaking them and throwing them in the dumpster and getting rid of them. It's like, what is going on here? And I'm not saying that there's some sort of conspiracy or collusion or corruption or anything like that, but it makes you wonder, like, what happened here? How did we fail this so badly? So then, and I know that then there was the blood from the third that was tested, and it showed only THC in her system. I believe that shrooms and acid stay in your system longer than a couple of days, so I would imagine that those still would have shown up on the drug test, but then again, I don't know. Also, there were reports that they were heavily drinking that night. That certainly would not show up on a blood test. Days later, that's even why so many people, when they get pulled over for a potential DUI, demand a blood test instead of a breathalyzer, because by the time you get to the station and they have someone come in and perform the blood test, you've sobered up, and the likelihood of your blood alcohol level being lower is much higher. You have a better chance. So she could have easily been intoxicated and wasted that night. We have no idea because the blood was discarded and they didn't collect the new sample until the 3rd. So that's annoying. Let's see. Okay, going back to the drugs and how we don't know what drugs were consumed that night, what happened. We know they were looking for acid. We also know that there was conversation of the group collectively potentially taking mushrooms together. I believe, with good reason, but they've never been convicted of this, so I just want to be careful what I say, but I'm sure you guys are all coming to this conclusion as well, that Mackenzie and Dom were drug dealers. They posted selfies all the time wearing like all of this designer stuff. There were some selfies in this police report, I should pull up the photo, where they have like stacks of hundreds and 50s and all of this money. And we know that at the scene of the crash, not only did they find 6.91 grams of mushrooms, but they found a scale. Nobody has a scale in their purse unless you're measuring things out to deal. I mean, unless you're like counting your macros, but it didn't really seem like that's what was going on. And in fact, which this was not included in the documentary, Rosie, the friend who was also defending Mackenzie to the ends of the earth, she had said that they had talked about potentially taking mushrooms together, but that they all decided not to. But what she conveniently left out in her segment on Netflix was that she and Mackenzie were texting the night of the party before Mackenzie even got to Paul's house. And Rosie had texted Mackenzie with a list of people who wanted to buy drugs from her. So, I mean, hello, the writing is on the wall. You don't have to be, a wizard to see what's going on here. But it's frustrating because all of this information, it does give context as to who Mackenzie was as a person, her character, her lifestyle, and there's more. So now going into her past behavior and past threats. We heard that from her parents and from some of her friends that she never had a thought about self-harm, that she had a great life, she was happy, she was looking forward to the future, she had designer stuff, she had nothing to be sad about, she was in love with Dom. Well, sure enough, after the crash, while this whole investigation was going down, there were several public outcries that not only completely contradict that, but also illustrate that Mackenzie was an extremely reckless driver and a furious driver whenever she got pissed off. So much so that a mom of one of her ex-boyfriends contacted the police during all of this, saying Mackenzie had actually threatened to not only take her own life, but to kill Dom in the past as well. Paul, one of the friends, spoke with police and said that he refused to get in the car with Mackenzie because, quote, she was a bad driver and, quote, got into fights while driving. Rosie, the BFF, ride or die, who didn't want to say a single bad word about Mackenzie, had also told Paul, quote, don't go in the car with Kenzie. It's not good. In the documentary, they also reference the incident that happened 2 weeks approximately before the crash, where Mackenzie and Dom were driving. They got into a fight. Dom called his mother saying Mackenzie's acting crazy. He called a friend, Hench I believe it was, saying you need to come pick me up. Like Mackenzie's threatening to crash, she's acting insane, all of these things. Well, when he called his friend to come get him, the friend spoke to the police and he overheard Mackenzie saying these exact words, quote, I'm sorry, not her. Oh yeah, sorry, her. I wrote this wrong. Saying she will crash this car right now. And let me pull this up a little bit because I want to read this for you. Which page am I on? Oh yeah, well this goes, sorry I skipped a page. This just goes back to the dealing situation because it said, Rosie and Mackenzie on the night of July 30th, prior to Mackenzie's arrival at Paul's house. In the exchange, Rosie had listed the name of people who were interested in purchasing controlled substances from Mackenzie. Bam, right there, black and white. Okay, so now, as we're talking about this incident from 2 weeks before the crash, or maybe even, yeah, like a week and a half, she mentioned the incident from a week before the crash where Mackenzie threatened to crash the car that she was driving while Dominic was inside it with her. And let me see, there's one more page here. Okay. Let me just fast forward here. Okay, so she's threatening, he's scared, he calls his mom, we know that, he said she's acting insane, like, I'm going home, whatever. However, at the very end of the documentary, her parents, still advocating for her innocence, bring up text messages saying, no, Mackenzie actually was saying that Dom was the aggressor. He's the one who grabbed the steering wheel. He's the one who was threatening to drive them off the road. Well, those text messages didn't come from Mackenzie until after he had already called his mom saying what was going on, to which, by the way, his mom said when he called her, he was totally calm. He was fine. He wasn't angry. He was saying that Mackenzie was the one who was combative, saying like, she's scaring me. The friend also who went to go pick him up said he heard Mackenzie say that she was going to crash the car right now. And so, and that Dom was calm and nothing, like it completely contradicts everything. So later that afternoon, after Dom gets picked up, Mackenzie then texts Dom's mom saying, can you come get Dom? He just grabbed my steering wheel on the highway. He's trying to spin out my car and hurt me. There's more and more texts. And she said, he lied to you about it. I can't calm down when he just tried to end my life, which in my opinion, and look, gaslighting happens on both sides. In my opinion, we know that their relationship was extremely toxic. There was a lot of back and forth, a lot of breaking up, a lot of hatred. He cheated on her. They were breaking up and getting back together every other week, right? Even though Rosie said it wasn't like that. It was, according to all of the friends and, 180 pages or 518 pages of this police report. But I think she was so desperate because she also did have a connection with Dom's mom. They talked regularly. I think she was just trying to make sure that she wasn't, that the perception was that she wasn't the aggressor in this. I think this was all a manipulation tactic, being like, he lied to you about it. It was really him. Well, that completely is contradicted by his tone of voice when he called his mom. What the friend heard you say in the car when Dom called him. But once again, trying to make it seem like she is that she is the victim in all of this. Friends also were quoted in these police reports saying that she, quote, threatened taking her own life all the time. And one friend even said, it's all the times that she threatened suicide. Mackenzie was also on antidepressants since middle school, but she reportedly stopped taking them because she didn't like the way that they made her feel. So could that be a contributing factor to her aggression, to her anger, to her ideations? Certainly possible, right? Another thing that I thought was really interesting, in addition to everybody saying that she has threatened self-harm and also has threatened to crash the car while Dom's in the car with her and all of these things, she sped all the time. She was a horrifically reckless driver. We already went through some of the friends saying how they would never get in a car with her. They knew better. They advised other friends never to get in a car with her, that she was just a bad driver. She also, though, would record herself on Snapchat multiple times going over 90 miles per hour. Some even 100 miles per hour with her left foot. So constantly pushing the boundaries and taking chances. It's not like this was a one-time thing. And again, why didn't this get talked about? That she would regularly speed and even document herself speeding. We know she documented herself smoking weed and driving, but why wasn't it called out that she documented herself going over 90 miles per hour, 100 miles per hour with the left foot? Come on. Another thing that was left out that I think shows her type of behavior, her entitlement, her, untouchable type attitude, is that a week prior to the crash, she and Dom actually broke and entered into a church. This church had been for sale and abandoned for about 5 years, but they broke inside. They were taking selfies. This is all in the police report. There's about $85,000 worth of damage apparently inside this church. None of this ever went forward, obviously, given the situation and what happened, but they were hoodlums, I don't know if there's a better way to describe that, but like dealing drugs, smoking weed, partying, driving recklessly, driving impaired, breaking into churches, all for these selfies. And it kind of gives, especially if you saw the documentary and watched her own Snapchat videos and all that stuff, it kind of gives like Euphoria vibes a little bit, that show where it's like the jewels on the face, all you care about is how you look, what you're wearing. Their relationship is kind of like a Maddie and Nate dynamic, actually, if I'm being honest. And it's like glamorized in their lives. It's almost like they think they're living in a TV show or something. Another thing that I think speaks very highly to her character, or lack thereof, is that on September 17th, 49 days after the crash, she went to a Kid Cudi festival and was partying her face off and posting about it and so happy. And we saw the thing about Halloween and all of that, but didn't see anything about that. How just, a little over a month later, she's out partying. It doesn't show remorse to me. It doesn't, and I get it, you move on with your life at some point, but like, I don't know, a month and a half after this horrific accident when you were in the hospital for a big chunk of that too, it's like, really? Really? And now I want to get into the alleged sex offenses. And I want to read this verbatim because I don't want to have anything that gets, misinterpreted or room for error or anything like that. But it seems as they were looking through Snapchat history and as they were looking through her apps, investigators discovered that she was receiving quite a bit of money through Cash App, which could have been substance dealing, obviously. But then there were also photos that were reportedly being exchanged on Snapchat from her to other users in exchange for money. This is all alleged, okay? And but I'm going to read to you what was in
good old-fashioned sex
the
work.
report here. So it says, the purpose of the investigation into suspected sex offenses committed by Mackenzie was for the purpose of confirming or dispelling the possibility of her having been victimized and forced into committing unwanted acts. Detective Glover and I reviewed approximately 31,000 pages of material containing 93,000 text message exchanges between Mackenzie and Dom beginning January 2020 until July 30th, 2022. The messages were obtained pursuant to the search warrant for Mackenzie's cell phone. Messages indicated that Mackenzie voluntarily engaged in suspected sex acts with other people, likely in exchange for monetary value, without being forced to commit those acts. So, meaning Dom wasn't the one facilitating all of this. She did this on her own. Kind of like an OnlyFans, but through Snapchat. Sending videos, photos, getting money in return. However, this was a point of contention in her and Dom's relationship. Here's some text messages I'm going to read to you. This one's from January 25th, 2022. So, 6 months before the crash. Mackenzie wrote to Dom, "You realize I'm just going to get a sugar daddy and start selling feet pics, and I'm going to be doing just fine. So this is really your last chance to handwrite me an apology or fix this, or we're really done." Then in another text thread, on March 5th, 2022, Dom wrote to her, "Yeah, you let a dude fuck your feet for money like 6 months ago." Mackenzie replied, "We were broken up." Mackenzie added, "We were broken up and it was feet. LMAO. Once again, then leave." He's pissed because I don't want to get too wrapped here, but let a guy have sex with her feet. You can illustrate that in your mind, how it works.
Okay, we're done
I remember
here.
when I was in high school, it was called like...
Well, we're done here. Thank y'all that came through. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see y'all later.